Welcome in to WTIM, your information station. My name is Tim Zalabak, your host of the WTIM Morning Show. Before we get going with another great conversation here, let's thank the sponsors that make it possible. People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. In the studio, we have Lauren Asali, owner of Schaefer, Perfetti, and Asali Funeral Homes. How are you today, Lauren?
I'm good. Thank you, Tim.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for taking the time and being here with us today. And we want to learn about some of your services, about the state of Schaefer, Perfetti, and Asali Funeral Homes, and we're going to talk about it all today. So once again, thank you for being here with me. And just about Schaefer, Perfetti, and Asali Funeral Home, and this is a great institution in the town of Taylorville, and you guys help people out and when they need it most. So just tell me about the operations right now. How are things going?
Sure. Yes. So I wanted to come on to kind of, let the community know. Thank you first and foremost for all the love and outpouring of support and things since my husband has passed. But I want to also make it known that we're still here and doing a great, providing great service to the community. It is a family-owned business. I'm the owner, and my father-in-law, Bill, is the funeral director up here. We have a funeral director down south, and we're still doing all the good moving and shaking that Mike built. So
good.
Yeah.
And us here in the studio and the entire town of Taylorville, we really give all of our condolences to you, and happy that the town was able to step up and really show that support. Did you feel that in the town?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Yes. And again, I can't, there's no way I could thank everybody individually, although I try
Right.
and
Yeah.
that is an intention. And really, I'm going to have to pay it forward at some point in my life. But absolutely, I mean, this being from Effingham originally, both Mike and I, we moved here, 12 years ago, maybe. And this is home. I mean, this is home because of the community.
Yeah, absolutely. And they really showed out when it counted right there.
Yes.
And Mike will live on. And you are bringing up the operations now, which is awesome. And I'm
Yes.
sure a lot of people out there are happy to be knowing Schaefer, Perfetti, and Asali Funeral Homes will still be operating as it has. So for people that might not know what you guys offer, can you talk to me a little bit about those?
Sure. Yes. So we're family serving family. We are the only locally owned and operated funeral home in Taylorville. And I know that was very important for my husband, that you whenever you call us, you get us type thing. And it was a point. He had a servant's heart. All of our directors and secretaries are excellent people, and we have servant hearts, and we want to take care of you at what is unfortunately the worst time of your life. So we offer those at-need services for families that maybe just, are going through the process right now of having lost a loved one. We also offer pre-need planning and services that way, which I would highly recommend to, just kind of from my own experiences, especially now with losing Mike. Like I was sharing with you, Tim, Mike worked in the business, and he was only 38 when he passed, and this was so unexpected for us. He was diagnosed with AML on Tuesday and passed away on Thursday, and we just had no idea. He was just feeling a little under the weather, but anyway, even him working in the business, he did not scratch down his exact wants and needs for what he did as a living even. But I am very, very thankful that he did have conversations and kind of mention, oh, this is where I want to be buried, or I would like this, or, I want a wood casket or whatever. Had he not done that, even me being the wife of a funeral director, professional, and an owner of a funeral directing business, that would have been extremely, extremely difficult. Yeah, I was, I'm thankful for those conversations that he just mentioned in passing. But I know that is very different for us as a family of a funeral home versus people that maybe are accountants or, just working in whatever capacity. I don't imagine they have conversations about, please put me in this kind of casket. So I just really, really want to encourage the community to do your pre-planning or pre-arranging. We have at our funeral home, I'm a licensed insurance producer. My father-in-law, Bill Asali, he's a licensed insurance producer to do those pre-need and pre-arrangements. And then in our down south location, we have 5 locations. Our Greenville location, we have Andrea down there. And I just hired another apprentice. So we're growing and continuing to offer all the services. And with dignity and trust and respect. That's important.
Absolutely. That's Lauren Asali, owner of Schaefer Perfetti and Asali Funeral Homes. And you bring up a topic that is so and so crazy, because unexpected death, it does happen. You mentioned these specifics that people at the end of their life, even in natural ways of end of life care, I wonder even if they are having those conversations of what kind of casket would you have. It's probably a difficult conversation to have. And even if you don't have it, things only get tougher.
Exactly. It's kind of like a taboo thing, I think, sometimes. And, but again, because that's what is our family's way, we would have those conversations even in front of our children, I mean, it's part of life. But I know it is very, very strange, because even whenever Mike would mention, something like my mom, if she were around, she'd be like, what did he just say? And that's his mother-in-law, my mother, who, is in it pretty close, but not in it. And it still struck her kind of weird or odd. But again, I'm thankful for that, because I would not have known what his true intentions were. I wish he would have written it down for me. So again, I really want people to take that away from this. It will give you all peace of mind. Yeah.
Because the alternative is truly just questioning what they would have wanted.
And that's the last thing you want to do whenever you're dealing with the loss of a loved one.
Right.
That's the very last thing, because you want it to be something that your loved one would be proud of. And so.
Absolutely. And that would make it just a little bit easier, knowing that they are in a casket that they would have wanted and being buried in the place that they would have wanted to be. These are all the little logistics that need to be worked out. So if there is a person out there right now, and I'm sure there are that are not in the funeral home business, what are some of those things? You mentioned casket, you mentioned burial place, but you have forms, or you have conversations with these people.
Yes. And again, we have our trained staff that would love to meet with anybody. Just come in, sit down, and we'll guide you through that process. I know it sounds scary, and casket is a word. It's like, oh, just kind of one of those taboo type things, but there's a lot more to it than just that. We talk about, what kind of service would you like or envision for yourself, whether, you want something through a church or at the funeral home, so there's lots of details and things that would be beneficial for your family to have those things planned out, so they're not guessing at that time, because there's a lot of decisions that have to be made that maybe you wouldn't necessarily think of until you have to think of it.
Yeah. You mentioned these are taboo topics, but I wish they weren't, because death is a part of life, and they get hard to talk about it when you need to talk about it. And you mentioned your very caring staff, and they very much have to be, I'm sure. Talk to me a little bit about that staff. If I'm coming in there, probably one of the worst days of my life, those people need to be ready to deal with that.
Yes. And my staff is incredible. Like I said, I've got my father-in-law, Bill, here. He worked right under with Mike, right alongside with him. We've got a secretarial staff that is very good and strong and caring too. If you call in, they will get you where you need to go with information and that kind of thing too. In fact, one of our secretaries was her name is Debbie Perfetti, and she grew up in the business too. Her dad was Art Perfetti, who started Sorrento and Panama, which are two of our locations. So she is just a wealth of information. She's not a funeral director, but she knows what and how to support the family. And she's very, very helpful that way. But yes, Bill is our person up here. And then down south, we've got Andrea Smith. She's excellent. She's been in the business for a long time. And then, like I said, I just hired another apprentice. So she's going to be working under Andrea and kind of learning that way down there. So we're growing and things are good. Yeah.
Good. Probably so important to be up to date and to recognize the conversations that you're having. And the apprentice, I'm sure you're kind of walking through that right now. It's you have to just be careful with everything you're doing in a funeral home like that. But it's really great to hear the staff and the operations and everything is going still smoothly with Schaefer Perfetti and Asali Funeral Homes. Lauren, we're going to take ourselves a short break right now. We're speaking with Lauren Asali, owner of Schaefer Perfetti and Asali Funeral Homes. A lot of information there. We thank her for coming by. Thanks so much to the sponsors that make this conversation possible. People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. My name is Tim Zalabak, and you are listening to the WTIM Morning Show right here on WTIM, your information station.
Your information station, WTIM. Let's check the markets now on the RFD Radio Network. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn slightly lower, beans lower, wheat also in the red at this hour. March corn down 1/4, 4.13 1/4. May corn down 2.5, 23 3/4. December new crop 4.58 down 1 1/4. March beans 11.33 1/2 down 7 1/4. May beans down 6, 11.43. November new crop down 5.5, 11.38 3/4. March Chicago wheat unchanged. May wheat down 11.5. July wheat down 9.5, 5.46 1/4. March bean meal down $1.50, 329.70. March bean oil $45 even, up 49 cents. Livestock market at this hour. March feeders 251.95 down 35 cents. April live cattle down 30 cents, 187.70. April lean hogs, 84.95, down 22 cents. Energy market, April crude oil, 79.92, up $1.77. Jim Taylor, RFD Radio Network.
If you're looking for a healthcare provider that truly cares about you and your family's well-being, the SIU Center for Family Medicine is now accepting new patients. They're available to help you live your healthiest life. Regular checkups with a healthcare provider can be the key to a healthier you. Take charge of your health and join their caring community of patients. Call 217-824-1134 or click their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com to schedule your first appointment. At the SIU Center for Family Medicine, they're not just your healthcare providers, they're your partners in wellness.
This is Bill Wise with the latest Appetite for Pork report. Today I'm talking with Dr. David Newman, Senior Vice President of Market Growth at National Pork Board, about how your pork checkoff dollars are working to bring more U.S. pork to tables around the world. Dr. Newman, the pork checkoff has been working to expand markets here at home. What exactly does that mean for pork producers?
Right now, in this challenging market that we're in, our goal is driving demand both domestically and internationally. We're building one-on-one relationships with several different pieces of the marketing aspect of pork, retailers, food service operators, and we're also working a lot with C-stores. So making sure that we're playing in all the areas where consumers are shopping. Using checkoff funds to do that keeps pork top of mind with relevant consumers.
Thanks again, David, for talking with us today about how the pork checkoff is building a bigger appetite for U.S. pork. You can find out more information at porkcheckoff.org/radio.
Sign up for People's Bank and Trust Save by Spending Roundup program, and they'll round up your purchases to the next dollar, then transfer that change to your savings account. It's as easy as shop, enjoy, and save. Get details by clicking their icon at TaylorvilleDailyNews.com.
Hi, this is Jeff Robinson from Advanced Title. Whether selling your home on your own or through your local realtor, please give us a call at 824-8007 for all your title work needs.
Your information station, WTIM.
Welcome back to WTIM, your information station. I'm your host, Tim Zalabak. Thank you so much for tuning into the WTIM morning show. Thanks so much to the sponsors, People's Bank and Trust, where they put people first, and Landmark of Taylorville, where you always do better at Landmark. We're speaking with Lauren Asali, the owner of Schaefer Perfetti and Asali Funeral Homes. And that first half, we talked about operations continuing as normal at Schaefer Perfetti and Asali Funeral Homes, still providing great services to the community here. We want to learn a little bit more about Lauren Asali here, owner of Schaefer Perfetti and Asali Funeral Homes. You were poised to take over some operations more and more as Mike moved towards that coroner position. And so talk to me a little bit about what made you qualified. You're confident to do this job.
Sure. Yes. Yeah. So Mike was running for coroner. We weren't for sure if he would win or not, but he was kind of planning, for that to have been a success. And I worked as a school psychologist for 12 years in Taylorville and Morrisonville and Nokomis and Kincaid and Pana. So across my 12 years, I've served the community that way. And just this school year is when I decided, I'm going to be a stay-at-home mom. So this past fall, I stayed home with our 3 kids. We have a second grader, a kindergartner, and a 2-year-old. So we're busy at home too. But I stayed home with them. And then the plan was whenever Mike got, these other dreams kind of realized, that I would step more into the operation side of the funeral home. The plan was for whenever our littlest, his name is John, he's 2, like I said, whenever he would be in preschool, at age 3, you can start that. Then it would kind of open up more for me. So the timeline just moved up a lot more quickly. So, but yes, it was always our plan and vision for me to help more in that avenue and take over this operation. So it comes not as a surprise. The timeline comes as a surprise though. But yes, yeah, I feel very confident. Whenever I worked in schools, I would do systems and work with families and help them at difficult times and conversations then as well. So I think it's a good next chapter.
Sure, absolutely. And a school psychologist, I'm not sure of other people that hear more tough conversations on a daily basis than a school psychologist, and all around this Christian County in South Central
Yes.
Illinois.
Mhm.
You really named off all the
Yes,
local
yeah.
communities right there. So
Yep.
it's really awesome. You have that local look into everything as well, because that's something you probably see very often. It's familiar last names coming.
It is. Yes, absolutely. And that helps tremendously because, I can also, even going through this with Mike and my own husband, my training from school psychology kicked in, and, I got on the horn with their school and had some of my social work friends. I reached out to them and they went and talked to the classes. I just knew how to details to think about, to help with the significant tragedy and loss. So I'm thankful I had that because it's hard to know what to do.
Yeah, that's what's most important. Finding the person with all the answers when you yourself are not in any place to make those or even ask the right questions there. So you bring that up kind of perfectly. We're in our last 3 minutes here, and I want to just go back to pre-arrangements a little bit and what people might not be thinking about that you'll help fill in the gaps a little bit. So when we talk pre-arrangements, and maybe a couple out there are thinking, well, we're in our 30s and 40s. We don't have to think about that. We're kind of the theme of today is it's never too early.
It is never too early. It never, ever is. And unfortunately, that's not something you want to sit down and think about. I remember whenever Mike and I, we were celebrating our 10-year wedding anniversary, and he was adamant that we go and do our wills because we're leaving the country. And, what if something happens? And I was kind of worried about that. Like, why do we need to do our wills? We're, 35, 36. And that is a more understandable topic, I feel like, for families to have. But it is so much as equally important to think about your end of life final expenses and final plans. I think it's important. The will has become significantly useful in this situation that we never planned for. And I really, that is something I've learned from my life experience, that prearranging is probably one of the best things you could do for your family.
And just to reiterate, we talked a little bit about it earlier, but I mean, it's the toughest time maybe of your life there, and there are professionals there to help you with Schaefer Perfetti and Sally Funeral Homes. Now, just a few more of the specifics within the pre-arrangements. You mentioned caskets and such, but what are some other things that maybe the public might not know about?
Sure. My husband was brilliant, and on all facets, he was very multifaceted and had all kinds of things. And part of his business, though, he has packages that you could look at. So that helps you to know exactly what would be included in that, but also you can go and think about other details if you want to make it more specific. But we want to make the process as easy on you as possible. And also, to speak to that point, anybody that has made pre-arrangements with us, all of that is good, solid. We still are here to take care of you. So there's no changes with regard to that or anything that needs to occur with regard to that.
Good.
You're still with us. So
it's good to revisit that point as well. If you had a standing arrangement there with Schaefer Perfetti and Sally Funeral Homes, nothing changes there, and that's great. And Lauren and Sally's picked up the operations in a great manner over there. That is really awesome. Lauren, we're in our last minute here. Any final thoughts for our listeners?
I'm Team Taylorville. I grew up in Effingham, and we're here. Like I said, we've been here for probably 12 years, and this is home. I mean, and I'm just so thankful for the community. I can't stress enough how important and beautiful it has been through this awful thing that my family is going through. But thank you to Taylorville and the supporting and surrounding communities for all the support and love.
An amazing thing for the community to step up in such a manner, and we are so happy to be standing alongside of you, Lauren.
Thank
you.
Absolutely.
And if people wanted to get in touch with Schaefer Perfetti and Sally Funeral Homes, you got a phone number?
We do. We have both. We have SallyFuneralHomes.com that will have all kinds of information, including our phone number. But our phone number is 217-824-3311.
Perfect. Lauren, thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
Absolutely. That was Lauren Asali, owner of Schaefer, Perfetti, and Asali Funeral Homes. My name is Tim Zalabak, your host of the WTIM Morning Show. Thank you all for tuning in today.
On Big 870 WTIM Assumption Taylorville, 96.1 W240.